All right, we have our Libra solar eclipse happening on Saturday, October 14th. And you, my friend, are already feeling the disruptions of this. This new moon, rather, this solar eclipse, yes, it is like a new moon on steroids, but on the south node. So we're not creating intentions. Instead, we are liberating relationship dynamics so that you can break free of enmeshment. The more you let go, the more you'll be free to quantum leap and call in your most aligned collaborators, soul customers to nourish your success. Welcome to Star Powered Astrology for Changemakers. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your guide, a Hawaii-born Filipino Jewish astrologer who loves navigating visionaries like you through the spiritual journey of your work so that you can be inspired to lead by your chart and become the luminary leader you were born to be. Ooh, all right, my friends, welcome back. So I'm recording this on Wednesday, October 11th, and we have our solar eclipse. It's like a solar eclipse is basically a new moon where the moon is eclipsing the sun. And this time it's an annular solar eclipse. So it's a ring of fire. And this is happening near the south node. The Libra eclipse is going to be at 21 degrees, the south node at 24 degrees. So only 3 degrees away. And if you live in the United States, especially in the kind of mountain western region, you are going to be able to see the most spectacular ring of fire right around 10:55 a.m. Pacific, 1:55 p.m. Eastern. Now, like I said in the intro, you are most likely already feeling this. It's definitely a disruptive feeling. And before I just go a little bit deeper into this, I just want to talk about how life has just been so disrupted and so interrupted for so many people. Now, I'm not taking a stand here or there for the war that has erupted on the Gaza Strip, but in my heart of hearts, I pray that there will be peace for the people of both Palestine and Israel. There are absolutely no winners here. There's no freedom when there are oppressed. There's no happiness when there are those under siege. There's only hurt, shock, sadness, and grief. Now, a friend, astrologer of mine, Celeste Brooks of Astrology by Celeste, she had put out on Instagram, Astrology by Celeste, kind of the astrology of this terrible dynamic and war that is happening there. If you're interested in that, go follow her and go listen to what she has to say. However, I pray that one day this region can be showered in peace and collaboration, where all humans have a place to thrive and opportunities to contribute. I pray that equitable, peaceful resolution and understanding is found quickly. I pray that these hurt nations stop hurting each other and instead help each other across religious and ethnic lines. This is my Libra prayer. May this eclipse reveal and unravel all of the hurts, all of the generations, so that we can come to a Libra resolution, not a compromise. We have to have peace. Breaks my heart. Now, if we can, I'm not an expert in the politics and the relationships between Palestine and Israel, the governments of Israel and the Hamas, and I'm not going to talk about that. What I do know about that is that this has been generations upon generations in the making in terms of the same old story. My son the other day was like, they must be talking about this at school, because I haven't been talking about it to him because I've just been too heartbroken. I didn't want to share that with him. And he goes, Mom, why are humans so stupid? Why do we always just fight about land and God? And I said, oh my goodness, my sweetie, you are so observant. You're so brilliant indeed. And I was like, in half the time, people are simply making the excuses of God to take land. Now, I talk about, colonization a little bit as, I am a settler, I am a colonizer. I thriving because of I live on land that has been stolen from others, like a majority of us do. And I'm trying to do better myself. With all of the fires and the recovery that's still going on in Lahaina, that story is not done yet either, my friends. Thinking about the land grabs again from these natural disasters that are climate disasters created by the same things. I'm not going to go down. I've been having this kind of like, I'm definitely feeling this eclipse because I'm seeing everything so clearly now, where the power dynamics that are portrayed by the media are not the actual power dynamics that are happening on the ground. We've been hearing stories of land developers in Maui. We've been hearing stories about the poor Israelis who've been, surviving being ambushed in the night. But who haven't we been hearing stories from? Have we been hearing enough stories from Native Hawaiians who have lost their land? If you know where to look, you'll hear their stories on social media. Have we been hearing stories in the mainstream media from the Palestinians who are under siege that have nothing to do with Hamas? No. So, my friends, as we are really seeing the truth that is being opened up by this intense eclipse portal that we are already on that on ramp to, or rather I've been calling this an off ramp because we're leaving all these things behind. Now that you can see the truth, what are you leaving behind in relationship dynamics? So I'm going to rein it back in. Thank you for letting me step on my little soapbox and give my little sermon of what's in my heart right now. But I know that you're here to hear about the eclipse and how it's really impacting your work life. Okay. Now, of course, in our businesses and our work life, they're built on relationships, and the healthier, stronger, trusting, equitable, mutual relationships we can have. Notice those are all the highest ideals of the synergies of Libra. Then we know that we are successful. We are building value based on relationships instead of transactions. We are building value out of individual contributions and recognizing everyone for individual contributions. We are getting great results. Our clients are getting great results. Our value keeps on growing. That's the ultimate, right? That's the ultimate, where we're doing this shared power where everybody is thriving. Very, very anti capitalistic. Okay. And it is possible for everyone to thrive, but it simply means that we have to share power and equity. And so in your work, I hope that as you are looking at the relationships that you're building, that this eclipse is showing you what relationship dynamics. Now, we can attach these dynamics to a certain type of person, a certain type of client. You might even have a person in your mind that you're like, they're an energy vampire, I need to break away from them. But it's more than the person. It's really the relationship dynamic, that power dynamic that you have with the person. And since you can only change yourself and not that other person, getting clear on what causes you to create these types of relationships and maintain these relationships in your life. So this eclipse is looking at what relationship traps, those unhealthy power dynamics, do you need to break through so you can fly? Now, this eclipse and us leading up to the days leading up to this eclipse, right? This will likely be a time where it's best to do things that you love, to give your loved ones an extra hug, to give yourself forgiveness and patience, to be kind, because this energy is very intense, but it is absolutely the intention that we need, and to take matters of our own heart and value seriously. It's time to break free of the chains of relationship patterns that no longer serve you and speak up to the shame and injustices of past hurts to be free of them. Oh my goodness, I've been having conversation upon conversation upon conversation of just unweaving the different kinds of power dynamics that we have built in our lives and how they manifest in our personal lives, how they manifest in our work lives, and how that work life manifestation then works that manifests in just the bottom line of our pockets. Now, this disruption, because Uranus is in conjunct to this moon, and I'll talk about that later when I go into the astrology and the personalizations. This disruption is the relationship cleanup, both in your personal life as well as your work life, that will set you free and make way for the most attuned relationships waiting for you. Now, I was listening to a replay with Arlen Hamilton, and you may know Arlen Hamilton, but if you don't know her, Arlen Hamilton is a Black lesbian investor and founder and managing partner of Backstage Capital. She's written a couple of books. It's about damn time, and a new book that's coming out, Your First Million. She's really a powerhouse in terms of building wealth for underestimated folk, mostly people of color and LGBTQI plus people. So I've been in her radar and taking part of some of her offerings recently, and I was listening to a replay that she was talking about dream clients. And so she was talking about dream clients and the difference from the dream clients versus the pain clients. And oh my goodness, she was totally on the nose. She asked us to imagine a client email that as soon as it lands in our inbox, it sparks dread. Okay, I know you've all been there. I've been there. Email comes, you're like, oh no, what is this again? And then imagine the client that we can't wait to hear from and what that feels like when that email lands in our box, sparking joy. The email that sparks dread from that person versus the email that sparks joy. As I heard her make this analogy on that replay I was watching, it sparked just the absolute perfect metaphor for this eclipse and how we can really tune into what we are done with. Okay. So in your home life, is there someone you dread hearing the footsteps when they approach the door? Or is it someone you can't wait to see? In your work life, whose email do you dread? And whose message do you look forward to? Now, maybe dread is too harsh of a word, but you know that feeling of dread, right? Your heart sinks a little. You're imagining now, what do they want? You feel more drained. You're ready to put up defenses. If you tend to avoid, like I do, you just leave it in your inbox and, like, really, like, who am I kidding? I'm going to go ask Jeff to read it for me. I'm so much of that much of an avoider. But I'm asking you to sit with this discomfort for a little bit because it shows us with just a teeny bit of detective work what we really don't like about that relationship. Now, it could be, like I said earlier, you could have a person's face in mind and go, oh my gosh, I hate that person. You're projecting all these things on this person, how hard they make life for you. But it's really not about that person. It's about the relationship and the power dynamic, the unhealthy power dynamic that you have with this person. And this eclipse, we can see in full light, in full shadow, as to go dig deeper, to excavate all those things, to get to the root of that relationship dynamic, that power dynamic that is no longer working for you. Okay. Now, maybe that, that client email that you get, or the person that, visits your family regularly, that you're like, oh, maybe that relationship is based out of obligation. Right. Or maybe that relationship pattern of obligation, at one time you had to do it because it was a survival mechanism from an earlier time. Maybe it's still a survival pattern and you're not truly safe. Maybe it's a fear pattern left behind, that you're afraid of creating conflict or creating change. Or maybe it's a belief pattern that you don't deserve better. Okay. So, number one, understand the pattern. understand the relationship dynamic. And I'm going to show you in astrology where you can kind of direct your insight because it's written in your stars according to this eclipse. That's number one. But number two, to get to that heart of that, where this pattern came from. Of course, this pattern came from sometime in your childhood that created and galvanized this attachment pattern. Okay. But this is where we need to walk our walk, because this is where we are doing the work. To know where the pattern came from is absolutely helpful. But to understand the knots that the pattern created in you is the gift. Because when we have awareness and understanding and consciousness of these relationship patterns, of the patterns and how they are self-perpetuating in our life, in our personal life, in our client life, in our work life, in our friend life, all the relationships, and then understand where those patterns initially came from, now we can untie those and liberate them and break free from them so that we can throw them into the wind with this eclipse. Remember, Libra is still an air sign. So we're throwing all of this dust into the wind and letting the wind carry it away. Because the knots of this pattern are what I call the unhealthy relationship dynamic. It's the dynamic of the relationship that is recreated over and over and over again until you understand it and until you opt out of it. And the dynamics of that power and that relationship that isn't working your way, you need to consciously opt out, unsubscribe from it this eclipse season. And honestly, we're talking about it now because we have the eclipse in just a few days, but you've been felt this brewing for months. Okay. Back in April, when we had our Aries eclipse, and you made that promise to yourself to take that quantum leap into the unknown, to be that leader, to take those risks, to be independent. 6 months now. Have you noticed how the same relationship dynamics keep popping in your life, in both your personal and your work? And then we had that full moon, right? Clearing some of that way, clearing some of the way of all the way these interpersonal dynamics keep us from our leadership. Now we have our grand sweep. Okay, so if you've been clearing out the cobwebs, this is time for the hazmat. We're like taking it all out, because maybe someone in your personal life, right? Like, so let's get some examples. So maybe someone in your personal life always asks you for favors, but they never offer help in return. And how that equates to maybe in your work life, you find yourself overgiving to clients without asking for compensation. Maybe in your personal life, you're always put last, you're always overlooked by your family, not giving any value. And maybe in your work life, you're hiding and not being visible because you're afraid to share your work, maybe fearing that your people in your professional life will overpass you like the people in your family life. Or maybe someone in your personal life gaslights you and doesn't allow you to speak up without accusing you of creating conflict. And in turn, in your work life, you live by the client that is always right, even when they're not, and let the other take away your power. Can you see how these dynamics that we have created in our relationships play out over and over and over again until you consciously break free of that? Okay. So now that we've looked at some kind of examples, I want you to be honest. Okay. Let's turn the tables, because the examples that I've given, we've played the victim, but we never just play the role of the victim. According to the drama triangle and what we've learned from Chiron, in the drama triangle and what Chiron teaches us is that we play all of the roles. We play the perpetrator, we play the victim, and we play the martyr. So if we turn the tables too, where are we the perpetrator in those exact same power dynamics? Or worse, where are we the perpetrators to ourselves? If you have a lot of Libra energy, Libra rising, Libra moon, Libra north node, Libra sun, Libra midheaven, Libra on any of those angles, oftentimes you are harming yourself the most. Now, I'm not saying this to shame. This is all part of the drama triangle. This is all part of the understanding. This is all part of feeling the discomfort so we can really bring light to things and remove them, unwind them, unravel them. Because Chiron teaches us, yes, that we play all the parts until we bring awareness. And that awareness creates wholeness, creates healing, so that we can consciously step out and opt out. So, as you can see, the relationships you cultivate add to your value in your personal life, how you feel about yourself and what you contribute to a relationship in your work life, in your business life, in your professional life. This value is directly proportional to the money in your bank, in your pocket, in your wallet, because your business is built on relationships. And what Libra season has taught us is that hopefully these relationships are equitable, they're built on mutual respect, and create value that is larger from the sum of all of the contributions than on the individual. In our crazy capitalistic world where the top 1% owns like 99% of the value, you can see this is not the type of relationships that are built on equity, equitability, on mutual respect, and shared value. We have to topple this down. So you can see internally, we have to do this on an individual level. And systemically, we have to opt out of the evils of capitalism. Okay, that's not to say that we can't make money. That's not to say that we can't have a free market. But capitalism by default is about oppressing others, and we cannot do this anymore. Okay, so it comes down to how you love yourself in your most important relationship to yourself, how you cultivate healthy interpersonal relationships where you are valued by your partners, by your friends, by in your friend groups, in your communities, and how you value the other. And of course, how you attract your soul customers, your collaborators, and partners in your business, where you create outcomes based on the gifts of your individual contributions that are so much more valuable than the individual. So, creating outcomes where everybody has shared their individual gifts and the outcome is now so much greater. That is wealth, relational wealth. Wealth is not about money. It's not about power. It's about the people that love you. Yes, we need money. Yes, we need interpersonal power, sovereign power. But some of the power from capitalism and just kind of all of these like top down organizations and institutions, we have to move away from that. And it is possible. It's waiting for you. It's waiting for me. It's waiting for us once we clear our way. Once you dust out the cobwebs and clear out all the unhealthy power dynamics, once you dust off and get into the heart of what you value in relationship, the synergy of collaboration, the harmony and co-creation, the equity of success and fairness for all. So let's get back to the dirty work of this Libra eclipse. I want you to look at three things. Number one, I want you to look at those promises to yourself that you made 6 months ago and get honest with what has blocked you from achieving what you promised yourself. Number two, I want you to assess those unhealthy relationship dynamics between you and the folks you dread hearing from. And number three, I want you to get at the root of where these relationship dynamics and attachment styles come from. Now, you could do some deep therapy to get there, or you could trust your intuition and go with the first three answers that come out of your gut as soon as I ask those questions. I know something sparked in you as soon as I asked those questions. What promise did you make to yourself 6 months ago in your work and your leadership that you're still not yet achieving? What is the unhealthy relationship dynamic between you and the folks you dread from hearing? And number 3, what is the root? Where did the relationship and attachment style come from? So for me, the promise I made myself 6 months ago is the promise that I've been making myself for a few years now that I still haven't got caught up to, is visibility and showing up to bigger audiences, putting myself out there consistently. That was my promise. Still haven't done it. I can make excuses. I've been grieving. I've been making content. Yes, 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 yes. But I still haven't done it. What am I hiding from? Number 2, what is that relationship dynamic that I'm over? People who try to have power or envy over me. Power and envy. I'm going to be honest, I envy others. I try to hold power over others as well. So, power and envy over me. Number 3, where did that relationship come from? Well, let's be honest, it came from my mom because she had chronic pain and chronic issues, and her needs were always more important than mine. So I often went into my room solving my own problems, isolating and being by myself. So, where did those avoidance things come from? Now, now that I have this information, it doesn't make it just magically go away instantly, but I can recognize it so much more quicker when these things come up in my life and make these changes. So I want to leave this eclipse morsel with you based on your answers. What relationship dynamic are you done with that's been trapping you from your promise to yourself? What relationship patterns are you disrupting and liberating so that you can fly towards your most attuned partnerships and soul customer attraction? Now, remember, don't focus on who those attuned people are right now. You simply need to take out the trash of those dusty old relationship dynamics that you are done with to make space for the new. So let's talk about the astrology of this eclipse. The annular solar eclipse, basically a new moon in steroids, happens at Libra of 21 degrees at 10:55 a.m. Pacific, 1:55 p.m. Eastern. Make sure if you're in the States and you can see it, go out there, go see it. This highly energetic upheaval of an eclipse is shaking up your relationships and who you thought you were in relationship with others and yourself. This is the time you've been working towards for the last 6 months. You are ready to let go once and for all to unlock a new cycle of collaborative relationships and client attraction. Your previous relationship patterns shaped by societal, familial, cultural conditioning told you who you were, who you needed to be, and who you needed to please in order to survive. This at one time protected you, it served you so you could endure, but now it inhibits you from reaching your highest potential in both life and work. Maybe you underprice, or you say yes all the time, or you hide parts of yourself that seem unworthy. What interpersonal and identity traps are not allowing you to awaken, become liberated, or take off? These shadows of being are now being excavated, and all the armor and protections you've built around yourself are no longer walls, but now tools of your trade as you dissolve away the survival and see what gifts it gave you. Remember, even in your work and your business, old family enmeshments dynamics are playing out in your professional relationships. This eclipse make a conscious point to break free from the past relationship patterns to unlock your interpersonal success. Okay? Lack of individuality means you don't truly know yourself, just blending in. Emotional dependency means you're just letting others determine your feelings, your goals, and experiences. Lack of decision making means you depend on others to make decisions. No boundaries means you're not asserting yourself or speaking up for your needs. Avoidance, like me, meaning you're suppressing your feelings to keep the peace. Isolating, that's also me, hiding instead of making healthy, valuable relationships. Emotional turbulence, like causing drama, means that intense emotions create instability with loved ones. Jealousy, envy, possessiveness means power, controlling, and behaviors of distrust. So, although it's a new moon, this energy of these eclipse is so charged. I encourage you to not set an intention. You don't need to do anything. Simply let breaking down, chipping away, letting go, make space for your true self to emerge, to let is to bring awareness to what needs letting go. The more you resist, the more tangled your unhealthy relationship patterns remain. The more you let go, the more you're free to call in those most trusting, worthy, unaligned collaborations that nourish your success. What do you need to let go in order to fly? Okay, let's talk about some Astro Notes for those Astro techies, and then I want to talk about um, uh, personalizations based on your rising sign. Okay, so remember the last full moon in Aries, Mars, the ruler, laid the groundwork for separation and cutting relationships loose. What has come full circle in those 2 weeks? What needs to be removed? South Node eclipse shows us these past enmeshment patterns to let go. We've been talking all about that. Chiron opposite the North Node at the time of the eclipse. See how this is all like weaving in the astrology, like everything we've been talking about asks us to truly feel the hurt of being our true selves so that we can move through these wounds with awareness of our gifts of being. This means like don't run away from the pain, know your true self, get curious. Now, Mars and Saturn are, the heavy hitters, they're trining. So that's nice. Showing us how to tap into our boundaries, our expertise, our trust and power so that we know that as we do this work of uncovering all of the shame and guilt of these power dynamics, that we are protected, that we can forgive ourselves. Now, Uranus is like eclipse energy, is in conjunct the sun and moon, this new moon. So 150-degree aspect. And in conjunct is kind of a funny little aspect, but it's an echo of the eclipse message. And it's like, and it's really asking what survival tactics no longer have a hold on you. Okay, so we know that survival tactics, fawning, hyper independence, putting others over yourself, hyper control. What survival tactics no longer have a hold on you that you no longer need? And lastly, this annular ring of fire reminds you that even if your needs are eclipsed, your fire never goes out. You are powerful. Let's take a look at some eclipse personalizations because today or this time you are getting ready to fly because you have let go. You're breaking through all of those traps that are holding you down. If you are an Aries rising or have 21 degrees of Libra in your 7th house, you are you need to let go of putting others on a pedestal. If you're a Taurus rising or have that 21 degrees in the 6th house, you are letting go, bye-bye, of servitude towards others. For those Gemini risings or 5th house that has 21 degrees of Libra, you are saying bye-bye to overworking to please others. If you're Cancer rising or have that 4th house with Libra and 21 degrees, you are saying goodbye to envy of others, people's envy of you. Bye-bye. For Leo risings or 3rd house activations, you are saying goodbye to the traps of not expressing your needs. So bye-bye, suppressing your needs. For those Virgo risings or 2nd house activations, you're saying goodbye to feeling worthless in relationships. Libra risings, having this in the 1st house, you're saying goodbye to something super powerful. You're saying goodbye to putting yourself last or putting yourself down. Scorpio risings or those 12th house people, you are saying goodbye to enmeshment, vengeance, jealousy. Sagittarius risings, you're done with taking one for the team. Capricorn rising, you are done with obliging others. And Aquarius rising, you're done with letting others determine your purpose. And lastly, Pisces rising folks, you're done with letting others manipulate and control you or trying to manipulate and control others. All right, my friends, this is a powerful one. Please share this with others. The more people that can hear this and do this deep work, the more we are moving on to the right path. And if you enjoyed this podcast, share some love. Please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That is the thing that gets more listeners to this podcast. I know that this podcast is here to make a difference. So please share this with those you love. All right, my friends, have a most beautiful eclipse. May you break free of all your traps so that you can fly. As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.